TSN's list of top 50 NHL players set to be revealed throughout the next week with a look ahead. Here are Craig Button and Dave Poulin. Gentlemen, I got a sneak peek at the list, and two big names nowhere to be found. Mark Scheifele, Jonathan Huberdeau, both absent from this year's top 50. So here's the question, Craig. When we're redoing this list next year, is it most likely they're both on, they're both still off, or will only one of these two make it?
Most likely that both of them are back on next year when we do the top 50 list. Now, you look at last year and you can look at Jonathan Huberdeau. He had a significant drop-off in his production. Mark Scheifele, despite scoring a career-high 42 goals, he didn't hit the 70-point mark. But if you go back and look at the last 8 seasons for Mark Scheifele and for Jonathan Huberdeau, they were point-a-game players. So we can look at last year and we can say, hey, listen, you know what? Wasn't very good or not up to their standards. And I think that that's accurate. But when you look at the bigger body of work, and that's 8 seasons, point-a-game players, top 20 in the league during that period of time for both of them, I think they're going to rebound back closer to that level. Is Jonathan Huberdeau ever going to hit 115 points? No. But do I think he can be a point-a-game player, 80, 85 points? Absolutely. And do I think Mark Scheifele can get 40 goals and 80 points? Absolutely. And I think that's why I'm optimistic that they can be on the top 50 list at this time next year.
Craig, I agree with you on Mark Scheifele. I think Jonathan Huberdeau is going to be just outside of it, though he is going to rebound. And now I get into pure numbers because I know next year I'm going to want to inject 10 new names into it. So Mark Scheifele is going to have to be a new name on an old list. And I think, with the absence of Pierre-Luc Dubois this year, that's actually going to help Scheifele reestablish himself, be playing with Kyle Connor. I think he got kind of thrown off last year for whatever reason by the play of Pierre-Luc Dubois. I don't think that went very well in terms of their 1-2, 2-1 situation. He's back to being the number one guy. I think he's going to rebound a big way, as do I think Winnipeg is. And Calgary's a better team than they were last year. Hey, Jonathan Huberdeau didn't ask to be traded. He's the one who ended up being traded. He went up there, he just didn't fit right off the bat from the way that he was used to in Florida. He didn't have Barkov, and he didn't fit. He's got a new coach now. He's got a new fresh start. I don't think they're going to win every game 10-0, by the way, but I think he'll be much better this year. He just remains outside of the top 50 for me.
Craig, you've been in management in this league. You've seen players go through some struggles. Given what you've seen, it sounds like you and Poulin disagree on where Huberdeau is going to be. If you had the opportunity to pull him aside or speak to him through your coach, what would you say to him to get him back to more like the guy who had 115 points, even if he can't reach those peaks again?
Yeah, quickly I'll say this. I don't think Dave and I disagree on where Jonathan Huberdeau. It was more about will he be in the top 50 next year on our list. And, that's debatable, and certainly we'll look at this year as an indicator of whether they are or not. Again, I'm going to go back to 8 seasons. 8 seasons where Jonathan Huberdeau, which includes last year as a point-a-game player. Players that do that over that long a period of time have shown a consistency. And to me, what you have to always do is just encourage them and remind them what they do well. I think last year he was out of position. Dave pointed out it didn't really start off very well for him, and it didn't really get to any level where you could see what Jonathan Huberdeau had done in the past. But he's an excellent passer. I would like to see him shoot a little bit more. I think he's got an underrated shot. But when you've had that type of success, do what you do well, and that is being a little bit quicker. I thought he was trying to be too perfect at times last year, trying to make the perfect play. Maybe he was trying to fit in that regard with his teammates. But when you're that good for that long, do what you do well. And Jonathan Huberdeau does a lot of things well. It's sometimes just reminding them, hey, you didn't get here by accident. Right. You had this success because of your abilities and your skills. Get back to doing exactly that. We're not going to ask you to do more, and just kind of get back to being comfortable with what you do well.
Poulin, you wore a C in this league. You've had to be a leader in that room. If you had an opportunity to speak to Mark Scheifele, what would you say to him with all the distractions that are going on around him, looking back on what he did last year and what he could still do this year, even given the circumstances?
Remember yourself at your best. When you were at your absolute best, what were you doing? And He's got those elements. There's no question about it. He's got a leadership aspect to it. And, don't forget, Adam Lowry was just named the captain of that team. Yeah. But he's in the final year of his contract, Mark Scheifele is. He's got a lot to play for. Mostly he has the Winnipeg Jets to play for. And he's been a proud member of that organization. He wants to see the rebound. He wants to go back to that conference final team of a few years ago. I think they've got some pieces in place. He wants to be a leader on that team.
Great points by both of you guys. TSN's top 50 list will start being revealed on Monday. 10 names at the time through Friday. Our NHL analysts, Craig Button and Dave Poulin.